AITA for revealing that my girlfriend was secretly seeing her ex at her birthday dinner? I'm Andrew, 32, and after almost 4 years with Mia, I thought I had learned the difference between being calm and being stupid. I was the boyfriend who remembered her coffee order, kept an extra phone charger in my car because she always forgot hers, and tried not to act threatened by every person from her past. I believe trust meant not grabbing someone's phone, not interrogating them over old names, and not turning normal history into a crime scene. For most of our relationship, that worked. Mia was 30, funny, social, and the kind of person who could make a regular Tuesday feel like an event. She loved birthdays, group dinners, little surprises, and inside jokes. All of it. I love that about her. I like seeing her happy. I like being the person she leaned on when she got overwhelmed trying to make everything perfect. But there was one name that always changed the air between us. Ryan. He was Mia's ex from before me, and I didn't hate him at first because I didn't know him well enough to hate him. All I knew came from Mia, and none of it was flattering. She told me he was controlling. She said he always needed attention. She said he could walk into a room and somehow make every conversation about himself. She told me he hated being ignored more than he hated being disliked. Once, early in our relationship, she said, Ryan always needed to feel like the room was watching him. I remember saying, half joking, then why keep giving him a doorway back into the room? She rolled her eyes and said, I don't. We're barely in contact. Barely turned out to be one of those words people use when they want something to sound smaller than it is. To be fair, I never asked Mia to erase him from existence. I knew adult relationships came with history. I had dated before her too. I didn't expect her to pretend Ryan had never mattered. But there's a difference between having a past and keeping a past polished on a shelf in case you need attention from it later. I didn't understand that difference clearly until her birthday dinner. Mia's birthday was supposed to be simple. She kept saying she wanted one easy night with no drama, which should have been my first warning because people who truly want no drama usually don't need to announce it 5 times. She wanted dinner with our usual group, Vanessa, her best friend, Derek, who was one of the few people in the group who could stay honest without turning everything into a fight, Jenna, who hated conflict but always noticed more than she let on, Mia's older sister, Lauren, and a few other friends who were close enough to be invited but not close enough to be involved in every argument. I handled the reservation because Mia hated making calls. The restaurant needed a deposit for a larger table and a minimum spend. I paid the deposit up front and told everyone in the group chat I would send out the split afterward for the shared stuff. I coordinated the cake pickup from a bakery Mia loved. I confirmed the time. I asked about dietary restrictions. I even printed the reservation confirmation and guest list because the restaurant had messed up a friend's table once before, and I didn't want Mia stressed on her birthday. That was the kind of boyfriend I was. Boring in the useful ways. Reliable in the ways people appreciate until they start mistaking reliability for weakness. A week before the dinner, Mia was sitting on my couch scrolling through her phone while I double-checked the reservation email. I said, "We're at 11 people, right?" She didn't look up. "Maybe 12. "Who's the 12th? "Just in case," she said. I laughed a little. "Just in case a person appears?" She looked annoyed. "It's not that serious. Sometimes people bring someone. To a birthday dinner with a deposit?" She locked her phone and said, "Andrew, please. I'm trying not to make this complicated." That was the first small thing. The second small thing happened 2 days later. Her phone lit up on the counter while she was rinsing a mug. I wasn't trying to snoop. I just glanced because the screen flashed beside me. The notification said, Re. Not Ryan. Re. I looked away before she turned around, but she noticed my face. "What?" she asked. "Nothing." She picked up her phone quickly. Too quickly. "It's just an old group thing." I said, "Okay." She frowned like she wanted me to ask more so she could accuse me of asking too much. I didn't give her that. The third small thing was Vanessa. The afternoon of the dinner, while I was picking up the cake, Vanessa texted me. "Did you know she invited him?" I was standing by the bakery counter, holding the little paper ticket they had given me, and I just stared at my phone. I typed, "Invited who?" The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. Then Vanessa wrote, "Never mind. Ask Mia." I called her immediately. She didn't answer. I texted, "Vanessa who?" She didn't respond. I stood there while the woman behind the counter opened the cake box so I could approve the writing. It said, "Happy birthday, Mia," in pink frosting with tiny white flowers around the edge. It looked sweet and normal. The whole thing felt ridiculous, like I was holding proof of one version of the night while my phone was hinting at another. When I got back to my car, I checked Instagram. Ryan had posted a story. I didn't follow him, but his account was public because of course it was. Black screen. White text. Some birthdays are worth showing up for. No tag. No name. But I knew. I sat in my car with the cake on the passenger seat and breathed through the first real wave of anger. The easy thing would have been to call Mia and start the fight before we even got to the restaurant. But I could already hear how that would go. "You're stalking my ex's Instagram? You're making assumptions. Can you not ruin my birthday before it even starts?" So I made a choice that I thought was mature at the time. I decided to wait. I decided to give her room to prove I was wrong. That was the last favor I did for the relationship. When we got to the restaurant, Mia looked beautiful and nervous. She wore a black dress I had seen her try on 3 times. She kept touching her necklace, checking the door, checking her phone, smiling too brightly. I asked quietly, "You okay?" She said, "I just want a night to be good." "It will be," I said. She kissed my cheek, but her eyes were already past me. People arrived in little waves. Vanessa came in first and hugged Mia hard, then gave me a look I couldn't read. Derek showed up with a bottle of wine as a gift, even though the restaurant had a corkage fee, because Derek was Derek. Jenna arrived with Lauren, both laughing about parking and how cold it was outside. For about 20 minutes, it felt like a normal birthday dinner. Drinks came. Someone made a joke about Mia being emotionally attached to appetizers. Lauren teased her about becoming 30 and still dramatic. Mia laughed and leaned into my shoulder. Then Ryan walked in. He didn't look like someone who was unsure whether he belonged. He looked like someone arriving late on purpose so the room would have to notice him. He wore a dark jacket, carried no gift, and smiled like he had already won something. Mia froze for half a second, then got up. Ryan opened his arms and said, "There she is. Birthday girl still looks exactly like trouble." He hugged her too long. Not a friendly, quick, social hug. A lingering hug. His hand stayed at the small of her back. He rocked her slightly like they were alone at some reunion nobody else had been invited to. Mia laughed nervously. "Ryan, stop." "What?" he said. "You used to like it." The table went quiet, and that way people pretend it isn't quiet by suddenly reaching for menus and drinks. Ryan finally let go and looked at me. "Andrew, right?" I nodded. "Ryan. No hard feelings, right?" he said. That was a strange thing to say to someone who hadn't expressed any feelings yet. I said, "Depends on what you mean." He laughed like I had made a joke. "Relax, man. It's a birthday." Mia touched my arm under the table as Ryan slid into the empty seat beside her. The extra seat. The just-in-case seat. I leaned toward her and said quietly, "You invited him and didn't tell me?" She kept smiling at the table, but her jaw tightened. "Can we not do this right now?" "That's not an answer." "It's my birthday," she whispered. "Please don't make it about your ego." I looked at her then. Really looked at her. She wasn't surprised Ryan was there. She wasn't embarrassed he had crossed a line. She was worried about how I would react in front of people. That told me more than her answer would have. Dinner started, and Ryan immediately became exactly the person Mia had warned me about. He had a story for everything. If someone mentioned travel, he brought up a trip he and Mia had taken years ago. If someone mentioned music, he talked about a concert where Mia had apparently cried during some song. If someone mentioned food, he told everyone Mia used to steal fries from his plate, but only because she knew I'd let her get away with anything. Mia kept laughing, but not fully. It was that awkward laugh people use when they want something to pass quickly without having to stop it. Ryan called her Mimi twice. I had never heard anyone call her that. The second time, I said, "Mimi?" Ryan grinned. "Old nickname." Mia picked up her drink. "I forgot about that." "No, you didn't," Ryan said. Jenna looked down at her lap. Derek stopped chewing. Vanessa stared at the candle in the middle of the table like it might give her legal advice. I stayed calm. Not because I wasn't angry. I was angry enough that my hands felt cold. But I knew the rules of that room. If I raised my voice, Ryan would become the charming ex making jokes, and I would become the insecure boyfriend who couldn't handle a birthday dinner. So I let him talk. Then he started aiming things at me. "You're lucky, man," Ryan said after his second drink. "She has high standards." I looked at him. "Does she?" He laughed. "I mean, Someone had to raise the bar before you. A few people fake laughed because silence felt too dangerous. I said, funny. I thought adults raised their own standards. Mia snapped my name under her breath. Andrew. Ryan lifted both hands. Relax. It's a joke. Derek said, maybe get a new joke. Ryan ignored him. A little later, he reached across the table to take a piece of bread from the basket near Mia, and as he pulled back, his fingers brushed her hand. Not accidentally. Slowly. Deliberately. He smiled at her. She moved her hand away, but she didn't say anything. I leaned in and asked, are you going to stop this? Mia whispered, stop what? That. He's just being Ryan. That's not a defense. She turned toward me, eyes flashing. Can you please not do this tonight? I sat back. There it was again. Not, I'll handle it. Not, you're right. Not even Ryan, back off. Just me being told to shrink so her night could stay pretty. The server came by to ask about another round. Ryan ordered an expensive cocktail without looking at me, even though he knew I had arranged the table. Mia ordered another drink too, her voice too bright. The server asked, will this all be together, or are we splitting checks? Before I could answer, Mia said, we'll figure it out. Ryan leaned back. Birthday girl shouldn't pay for anything tonight. He looked at me when he said it. I smiled slightly. Good thing the birthday girl isn't the issue. Mia's foot kicked mine under the table. Hard. Around then, phone started lighting up. Jenna looked at hers first, then quickly put it face down. Lauren checked hers and frowned. Vanessa closed her eyes for a second like she was tired before the night was even over. I opened Instagram. Ryan had posted a story from the table. It was a picture of Mia laughing, her face turned slightly toward him. I was barely visible at the edge of the frame, half cut off. The caption said, some people never really leave the story. He tagged Mia. I showed her the screen under the table. Are you going to tell him to take that down? Mia barely looked. It's just a story. So was the guest list, apparently. Her face hardened. Don't start. I haven't started anything. You're punishing me with your tone. That almost made me laugh because my tone was apparently a bigger problem than her ex publicly marking territory at the birthday dinner I helped plan. Across the table, Derek caught my eye. He gave a tiny shake of his head, not at me, but at the situation. That helped, strangely. It told me I wasn't imagining the room. Ryan kept going. He talked about Mia's old apartment. He talked about how she used to burn pancakes. He talked about how she hated scary movies, but watched them anyway because he liked them. Every story had the same shape. I knew her first. I knew her better. I am not gone. And Mia let him. She didn't encourage every detail, but she let the performance continue because stopping it would have meant admitting there was something to stop. At one point, Vanessa tried to redirect the conversation. So, Mia, she said, too loudly, did you decide where you want to go for your actual birthday weekend? Mia's eyes flicked to me for half a second. She didn't know about the private trip I had planned. Nobody did. The dinner was supposed to be the public celebration. The real gift was supposed to be a quiet weekend away, just us, with a reservation I had been excited to show her after the cake. Ryan cut in before Mia could answer. She always says she wants quiet, he said, then gets bored in 5 minutes. Mia laughed again. I looked at her and felt something inside me settle. Not break. Settle. There's a difference. Breaking is loud. Settling is quiet. It's the moment you stop hoping someone will suddenly become considerate and start accepting what their choices are already telling you. I reached into my jacket pocket and touched the envelope I had brought. Inside were the printed reservation confirmation, the guest list I had submitted, the deposit receipt, and the cake invoice. I hadn't brought it to embarrass her. I brought it because the restaurant had requested confirmation for the large table. But at that point, paper felt more reliable than anything Mia was willing to say. The cake came out near the end of dinner. Everyone sang. Mia smiled for the video. Ryan sang louder than anyone and changed one of the lines to Dear Mimi, which made Lauren laugh and then immediately stop when she saw my face. Mia blew out her candles. For a second, I felt sad more than angry. I had wanted that moment to be simple. I had wanted her to feel loved. I had helped build this whole night so she could feel celebrated. Instead, I was sitting at my own table like an unwanted +1. After the cake, Ryan stood up with his glass. Oh, here we go, Derek muttered. Ryan tapped his glass with a fork. Just a quick toast. Mia said, Ryan, you don't have to. I know, he said. That's what makes it meaningful. Nobody laughed. He turned toward Mia. Mia, happy birthday. I know we've had our history, and not everyone gets that. Some people know you for a season. Some people know you in ways nobody else gets to. The table went still. Ryan continued, looking right at me now. Some connections don't expire just because the relationship did. And Mia knows what I mean. Mia covered her face and laughed. Oh my God, Ryan. But she didn't stop him. She didn't say, that's inappropriate. She didn't say, respect my relationship. She laughed, embarrassed, but pleased enough to let it land. Ryan lifted his glass higher. To the birthday girl. Still unforgettable. A couple of people raised their glasses halfway, trapped by the social pressure of a toast. I did not. Mia leaned toward me, smiling with her teeth clenched. Andrew, please don't do this. It's my birthday. I picked up my water glass and stood. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it behind my eyes, but my voice came out calm. I actually want to thank everyone for coming, I said. Especially the guest I didn't know my girlfriend secretly invited. The room went silent so fast, it almost had weight. Mia whispered, Andrew, don't. No, it's fine, I said. I paid for the table. I helped plan the night. I just didn't realize I was hosting a reunion. Ryan smirked. Dude, seriously? I looked at Mia, not him. Did you invite him? Or did he just show up? Her face went red. This is not the place. You made it the place when you made it a secret. Lauren said, Andrew, maybe this can be private. I said, I tried private. I asked quietly when he walked in. I asked quietly when he posted about her. I asked quietly when he kept crossing lines. I'm asking clearly now. Mia's eyes watered, but not in a way that felt like remorse. It felt like panic because the room was no longer protecting her. She said, yes, I invited him. Happy. Someone at the table inhaled sharply. Jenna stared at Mia. Derek looked down and shook his head. Vanessa covered her mouth. Ryan leaned back like he was enjoying the show. That annoyed me more than anything, so I turned slightly toward him. And you, I said, can relax. I'm not jealous of you. His smile twitched. I pulled the envelope from my jacket and placed it on the table. I didn't throw it. I didn't slam it. I just set it down between the bread basket and the little dish of melted candle wax from the cake. This is the reservation confirmation, the guest list, the deposit, and the cake invoice, I said. I'll cover what I agreed to before tonight. I'm not paying for the person you hid from me, and I'm not paying for the performance that came with him. Mia stared at me. Are you kidding me? No. You're embarrassing me. No, Mia. You embarrassed me and expected me to stay. Ryan said, man, it's just dinner. I looked at him. Then paying for your own drinks should be easy. Derek made a sound like he almost laughed, but caught himself. Mia stood up halfway. So you're just going to ruin my birthday and leave? I took out my card and waited until the server came back around. I quietly told her I would cover the deposit amount, Mia's meal, the cake fee, and the original shared appetizers I had agreed to. Anything added by Ryan or ordered after he arrived could be separated. The server looked uncomfortable, but not shocked. I had a feeling she had seen worse. Mia whispered, Andrew, don't walk out. For 1 second, I wanted her to say something else. Anything else. I'm sorry. I should have told you. He crossed a line. You didn't deserve that. But she said, don't make me look pathetic. That was when I knew there was no version of the night where she understood the damage. I said, I didn't make you look like anything. Then I took the small gift envelope from my jacket, the one with the private weekend confirmation inside, and put it back in my pocket. I left the cake because it was hers. I left the flowers because they were hers. I left the table because my dignity was mine. Outside, the cold air hit my face and my hands started shaking. That was the first time all night I almost lost it. Not in the restaurant. Not during the toast. Not when Ryan looked at me like he could make me disappear if he performed hard enough. Alone in my car, with the steering wheel under my hands and my phone lighting up over and over. Mia called 6 times. Lauren called twice. Vanessa texted, I'm sorry. Derek texted, you good? Ryan posted another Instagram story before I even left the parking lot. This one was a blurry picture of his drink. Some guys can't handle history. I stared at it for a few seconds and then laughed once. Not because it was funny, because it was so pathetic that my anger had nowhere clean to land. I didn't answer any calls. I drove home in silence. The next morning, the group chat was already a battlefield. Mia wrote, I still can't believe Andrew made my birthday about his insecurity. Lauren replied, he could have handled it privately. One of the friends sent, yeah, that got uncomfortable fast. Jenna wrote, the whole night was uncomfortable before Andrew said anything. Nobody responded to that for a few minutes. Then Mia wrote, Ryan being there was harmless. Andrew overreacted because he can't handle that I had a life before him. I read that sentence 3 times while standing in my kitchen, still in the same shirt from the night before, coffee going cold on the counter. I started typing, then stopped. I didn't want to defend myself in a group chat like a teenager. Before I could decide what to say, Derek sent a message. Since we're discussing what happened, here's the part before Andrew stood up. Then he posted a video. It was Ryan's toast. The video started right as Ryan said, some people know you in ways nobody else gets to. You could hear the discomfort around the table. You could see Mia laughing into her hand. You could see me sitting there, silent, not interrupting, not shouting, not doing anything except watching the man she secretly invited turn her birthday into a public reminder that he still had access to her attention. After the video, the chat went quiet. Then Derek wrote, Andrew didn't start the scene. He ended the pretending. Lauren replied, I didn't realize the toast was that bad. Jenna wrote, it was worse in person. Mia didn't respond for almost 20 minutes. Then she wrote, he still humiliated me. Derek replied, Mia, you invited Ryan and hid it. That matters. Mia left the chat. That should have been the end of it, but the real twist came from Vanessa. Around noon, she texted me privately. I should have told you straight. I'm sorry. I sat down at my kitchen table. She sent screenshots. The first was between her and Mia from 3 days before the dinner. Mia had written, I invited Ryan. Vanessa replied, does Andrew know? Mia wrote, not yet. Vanessa wrote, Mia. Mia replied, I want to see if he can handle it. He always says he trusts me, right? If he gets weird, that tells me something. Vanessa wrote, that feels like a test. Mia replied, maybe I need one. I just stared at it. There was something especially humiliating about realizing you weren't just blindsided. You were evaluated, studied, put into a situation you never agreed to, and then judged for how quietly you bled. Vanessa sent another screenshot. This one was from someone else, apparently a friend of Ryan's who had forwarded it after seeing his stories. Ryan had written, watch her boyfriend sit there and take it. That was the sentence that finally killed whatever small part of me was still trying to make excuses for Mia. Not because Ryan was important. He wasn't. He was exactly what I thought he was. A man who needed an audience because silence made him feel small. But Mia had handed him the room. I texted Vanessa, why didn't you tell me before? She replied, I thought Mia would tell you. Then at dinner I panicked. I didn't think Ryan would take it that far, but honestly, I should have. I believed her guilt. I also didn't have the energy to comfort her for it. I wrote, thank you for sending these. Then I opened the confirmation for the private weekend I had planned as Mia's real birthday gift. It wasn't huge or flashy. Just 2 nights away, a quiet place she had mentioned months earlier, a dinner reservation she would have loved, and a couple's massage she had once joked I would never agree to. I had agreed. Secretly. Happily. The dinner was supposed to be the public part. The real gift was supposed to be just us. After that night, there was no us worth surprising. I canceled what I could. I lost part of the deposit. Fine. Losing money felt cleaner than spending it to reward someone for humiliating me. Mia called that afternoon. I didn't pick up. She texted, answer your phone. I wrote back, text me. She replied, are you serious? Yes. I'm not doing a breakup by text. I'm not doing a gaslighting session by phone. That made her angry enough to start typing properly. She wrote, you made me look pathetic on my birthday. I replied, no. I made the secret visible. She wrote, Ryan meant nothing. I typed, then why hide him? No answer for 3 minutes. Then, because I knew you'd react like this. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. There it was. The circular logic of someone who does something dishonest and then uses your reaction as proof that honesty would have been impossible. I wrote, I reacted after you hid your ex, let him disrespect me at a dinner I helped plan, laughed through his toast, and told me not to ruin your night. She replied, you're acting like I cheated. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I wrote, you didn't have to cheat to betray me. She sent a long paragraph after that. It had all the familiar pieces. She said I embarrassed her. She said I let Ryan get under my skin. She said I should have trusted her. She said I made everyone uncomfortable. She said she couldn't control what Ryan said. I replied with one message. This only gets repaired if you admit you invited him, admit you hid it, apologize for letting him disrespect me, stop calling basic boundaries insecurity, and cut off whatever emotional game is still happening with him. No more tests. No more secret guest lists. No more making me prove I'm secure by sitting quietly through disrespect. She read it. No response for almost an hour. When she finally replied, it was exactly what I expected and still somehow worse. I'm sorry you felt blindsided, but you embarrassed me too. I wrote, that's not an apology. That's a complaint wearing one. She replied, I'm not going to be controlled because you're insecure. I wrote, I'm not asking to control you. I'm telling you I won't compete with a man you claim you don't want, but keep inviting into the room. She called again. I let it ring. Then she texted, so that's it? Almost 4 years, and you're throwing it away over one dinner. That one hurt. Because it was almost 4 years. It was 4 years of Sunday mornings and grocery runs and shared shows and emergency chargers and coffee orders, and her falling asleep on my shoulder during movies she insisted she wanted to watch. It was 4 years of building something I thought was adult and steady. But one dinner had shown me what happened when her need for validation stood against my dignity. And she chose the applause. I wrote, I'm not throwing away 4 years over dinner. I'm ending a relationship where my respect became optional. She didn't respond for the rest of the day. The fallout kept moving without me. Derek told me later that Mia tried to restart the story in smaller side chats. She told people I had always been weird about Ryan, which was news to everyone because most of them had never heard me mention him. She said I embarrassed her publicly, which was true in the narrowest possible sense, but ignored the fact that she had created the public situation. Lauren defended her at first, but after the screenshots started circulating privately, even Lauren backed off. Jenna texted me, I'm sorry I laughed at first. It was awkward and I didn't know what to do. I appreciated that more than she probably knew. Vanessa sent one more apology and said, for what it's worth, I told Mia she was wrong. Ryan continued posting for 2 days, which somehow made him look worse every time. One story said, real ones don't need permission to show up. Another said, jealousy is loud. Derek replied to that one in the group chat before I could even decide whether to care. He showed up because he was invited secretly. Let's not pretend this is deep. Ryan stopped posting after that. Mia came by my place 3 days later. She texted from outside. Can we talk like adults? I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there in a hoodie, arms crossed, face tired. For a second, I almost opened the door without thinking. Habit is dangerous that way. Your body remembers comforting someone even when your mind knows they are the reason you need comfort. I opened the door, but kept the chain on. Her face changed when she saw it. Really? She said. I'm not doing a scene. I'm not here to make a scene. You said that about your birthday too. She flinched. For once, she looked less angry and more exhausted. I miss you, she said. I said nothing. She wiped under one eye. I handled it badly. That was the closest she had come to sounding real. I asked, what did you handle badly? She looked away. Andrew. No. Say it. You're really going to make me say it through a door chain? Yes. Her mouth tightened. I should have told you Ryan was coming. And I should have shut down the toast. And she folded her arms tighter. And I shouldn't have called you insecure. There was still one missing piece. I asked, why did you invite him? She stared at me. I don't know. You do. I thought I could handle it. That's not why. She started crying then, but softly, like she was trying not to let it become ugly. I liked that he still cared, she said. I liked feeling like she stopped. Like what? Like I still mattered. That answer was honest enough to hurt more than the lies. I said, you mattered to me. I know. No, Mia. You knew I loved you. That's different from letting it matter. She looked at the floor. I asked, was it a test? Her eyes lifted. I didn't need more. She said, Vanessa showed you. Yes. It wasn't supposed to be cruel. But it was. I just wanted to know you wouldn't freak out. You created something worth reacting to, and then judged the reaction. She shook her head. I know it sounds bad. It is bad. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I can block Ryan. I asked, because you understand why? Or because you want me back? She opened her mouth and closed it again. That was the answer. I said, I don't want to be with someone who needs to test my trust by breaking it. She cried harder then. So there's nothing I can do? There was. You could have told the truth before dinner. You could have stopped him during dinner. You could have apologized after dinner without making yourself the victim. You had a lot of chances. I was embarrassed. I know. You keep saying that like your embarrassment started when I stood up. Mine started when he walked in, and you chose not to respect me. She wiped her face and whispered, I didn't think you'd actually leave. That sentence stayed with me. Not, I didn't think I'd hurt you. Not, I didn't think it would go that far. Not, I didn't think Ryan would be cruel. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That was the foundation she had been standing on. My patience. My steadiness. My willingness to be reasonable. She had mistaken all of it for a guarantee. I said, I know. Then I closed the door. The next week was mostly practical. She had a few things at my place. I packed them carefully because I didn't need to be petty to be finished. She left mine in a box with Vanessa, which was probably for the best. We didn't have a dramatic final meeting. No screaming in a parking lot. No revenge date. No late-night confession where she suddenly understood everything perfectly and begged in exactly the right words. Real life usually ends messier and quieter than that. She sent one last text about 2 weeks later. I hate that this is how you see me now. I almost didn't answer. Then I wrote back, I see what you chose. That's different. She replied, I hope someday you understand I was confused. I wrote, I understand you wanted attention. I just won't be the cost of it. That was the last real conversation we had. People in the friend group settled into their own positions. Derek stayed blunt. He told me over lunch, you handled that better than most people would have. I would have lost it at the nickname. Jenna stayed friendly with both of us, but stopped pretending the night was a misunderstanding. Vanessa and I were polite, not close. Lauren never apologized directly, but she stopped defending Mia in the group chat, which was probably as close as she could get without feeling disloyal. Mia and Ryan didn't get back together, at least not from what I heard. That almost made it worse in a way. This whole thing wasn't some grand love story trying to claw its way back into existence. It wasn't passion. It wasn't fate. It wasn't unfinished business. It was validation. She risked a real relationship to feel wanted by someone she herself had described as exhausting. And Ryan didn't even want her in any meaningful way. He wanted proof that he could still affect the room. He wanted to watch me sit there and take it. For a while, I was embarrassed that I had stayed calm for as long as I did. I replayed the dinner and wondered if I should have left the second he walked in. Maybe I should have. Maybe the cleanest boundary would have been standing up immediately and saying, enjoy your night. But I also know why I waited. I wanted to give Mia the chance to choose respect without being forced into it. I wanted to believe she would see the line because she cared enough not to cross it. She saw it. She crossed it anyway. That is what changed me. I still believe calm matters. I still believe trust matters. I still believe you don't build a relationship by acting like every ex is a threat. But I also learned that being calm is not the same thing as being available for humiliation. A real partner doesn't secretly invite the one person they know will make you uncomfortable. Let that person perform dominance at a table you help pay for, and then call you insecure for refusing to clap. I didn't leave because Mia had a past. I left because she invited that past to sit at our table, gave it a microphone, and expected me to applaud. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.